Austerity is when governments or public institutions try to reduce the amount of money they are spending, generally on public services or on benefits. Now, this might be packaged under austerity, but it could also be called fiscal responsibility or government efficiency, as we've seen recently with the US's and more recently the Reform Council's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. What this intends to do is it intends to find waste within government spending, think where money is being spent that it doesn't need to be spent, cutting it out so that the government's spending less money. That is the primary purpose of austerity. The reason that governments want to do this is because they want to reduce the amount of money they're spending, either so that they can cut taxes or prevent an increase in taxes, which is what the current Labour government's looking at, or they want to do that so they can reduce the amount of debt that's being taken out. So generally, when a government spends money, it generally spends more money than it takes in taxes. That's called a budget deficit, and it fills up the rest by issuing debt. And governments generally don't want to do this because it means in the future they're going to have to pay interest on that debt, which costs money. So they might want to do austerity in order to reduce the amount of debt they're having to take out, or maybe even so that they can run a budget surplus, they can pay back or eliminate some of their previous debt. Often, also, a government will implement austerity because it's been told to by someone else. So, for example, in Greece, in 2015 and 2016, the EU told them that they had to implement austerity as a condition for certain support, and so because they were worried that their debt couldn't be paid back after the 2008 financial crisis. And so despite the election of a government that opposed austerity measures were imposed. Also, this is commonly done in developing countries where conditions of loans from, say, the IMF, the World Bank, or other international institutions or other governments, the loans come with the condition that there should be austerity implemented in the country so that they won't have to continue being reliant on loans or support from the EU, from the IMF, from the World Bank, whoever. In the UK, explicit austerity was the policy of the government of David Cameron and Nick Clegg, the Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition of 2010 to 2015, which was then carried on explicitly by the various conservative governments all the way until 2019, where the terminology for austerity was dropped. This is because of the massive amount of public backlash against the policy, because of the various negative impacts of cutting services or cutting benefits. Currently, in the UK, the Labour government has explicitly said that they will not be implementing austerity. However, in the past year in government, they have undertaken certain cuts to benefits, such as the winter fuel allowance and the personal independence payments, which amount to some form of mild austerity, which could be strengthened in the future, potentially. But what we could also interpret is that because austerity hasn't been reversed, that is, that cuts which were implemented 10, 15 years ago haven't been reversed, one could argue that austerity is still ongoing until the reversal happens. In the US, however, austerity has jumped back on the agenda with the creation of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, which was formerly led by billionaire Elon Musk, in order to, again, try and cut down federal spending, although these attempts have been remarkably unsuccessful so far. I hope that gives you a basic overview of austerity. I'm hoping to do more videos to go more in detail, but I'd love to hear your comments, what you think, and any suggestions of what I should talk about. And, of course, thank you for watching.